NHL regular season recap night 134. We kick things off with a pretty solid all-around game between the Florida Panthers and Montreal Canadiens. Barkov and Suzuki, the two captains, trading goals in the first period. In the second, it's Sam ReinHART with his 40th and Yuri Slafkovsky, arguably one of the hottest Canadians at the moment, making it 2-2 after 2 in the third. Another pair of goals, one for each team, from Alex Newhook and another from Sam ReinHART, his 41st of the year. And we head to OT, where we have some good back and forth action, but no solution to this game, so we head to the shootout. The first two shots are stopped, that being Suzuki and ReinHART, but then Caulfield, Barkov, and Lundell all scoring, and it's a 4-3 shootout win for the Panthers. This is a game they should win, but the Canadiens did what they could to make it competitive. All their big guys look good. All of the Panthers' big guys look good. Anthony Stolarz got the start in this one. He stops 28 of 31 for a .903 save percentage. Sam Montembeault, the slightly better save percentage at a .914, stopping 32 of 35, but just not quite good enough in the shootout for the win. It's a good effort from both teams, frankly. An expected win for the Panthers. 4-3 in the shootout is the final. The Sabres visiting Tampa Bay, and all of Caps, Penguins, Devils fans are going to be happy with this one. The Lightning had this one in their grasps in the third, but they throw it away and end up losing in overtime. They do, of course, secure the point here. But in the first period, it's Braden Point and Alex Tuch trading goals 1-1 after 1. Chaffee scores in the second to make it 2-1, but about halfway through the third, Tage Thompson scores on the power play to tie us up at 2. And then in the overtime, Rasmus Dahlin with the overtime winner, and it's a 3-2 win for Buffalo. UPL continues his stretch of solid play. He goes 21 for 23, a .913 save percentage. Vasi, not quite good enough here. 20 of 23, an .870 save percentage. Not really a high shot quantity game in this one, but at the end of the day, Buffalo gets the job done. 3-2 is the final. The Leafs once again taking on the Arizona Coyotes the second time in a week, and for the second time in a week, they get the job done against the Yotes. Matthew Nyes in the first, another one of the Arizona kids, and then in the second, it's Bertuzzi and Matthews both scoring before who but Alex Kerfoot scores to make it 3-1. Of course, the former Leaf scores against the Leafs. In the third, Logan Cooley does make it a one-goal game for about half of the third frame, but Willie Nylander with his 32nd of the year on the empty net would solidify it. It's a 4-2 victory for Toronto. Joseph Woll in his first game back since December looked really good, 30 of 32, a .938 save percentage. That's really good to see from him. For Connor Ingram, continues to not be all that great as of late, 22 of 25 and .880 in the losing efforts. Another big win for the Leafs. They're continuing to make up ground on the Bruins and on the Panthers, but of course the Panthers winning tonight does not help close that gap at all. The Golden Knights taking on the Boston Bruins in a game that could be both a potential Stanley Cup preview or a preview of two teams that could disappointingly exit in the first round. Who knows? The Bruins are very good at that. Anyway, Morgan Geekie, Jesper Vogelquist, and Morgan Geekie again scoring in the first period. 3-0 Bees after one. It does not look pretty. But in the second period, Paul Cotter, Alex Pietrangelo, Geekie completing the hat-trick effort just 36 minutes into the game, and then Michael Amadio, and it's 4-3 Bruins after 2. In the third, Chandler Stevenson would tie it short-handed, but Mason Lohrei on the power play gets the eventual game-winning goal. It's a 5-4 final for Boston. Not exactly the goalie battle you'd expect between these two teams, neither Adin Hill nor Jeremy Swayman eclipsing an .890 save percentage. Swayman 32 of 36 and .889. Adin Hill 27 of 32 for an .844, one of his lesser games of the year, to say the least. Regardless, though, the Bruins will take this one off of the shoulders of Morgan Geekie. Again, a 5-4 victory here. The Bruins are in second in the division as of tonight. Vegas, of course, trying to make up ground on Vancouver. This loss does not help in that case, but neither of these teams are worried about missing the playoffs. It's an entertaining game, which is really all either of these fans can ask for. 5-4 is the final. The Hurricanes taking on the Blue Jackets, and I'm sorry, Blue Jackets fans, but I'm really annoyed the schedule makers are making me talk about your team on back-to-back nights because it's just another loss. The Hurricanes win this one by a final score of 4-2. No goals in the first from either team. Teravainen, Aho, and Shea all scoring in the second. Cole Sillinger throws one in there. In the third, Alex Nylander does make it a 3-2 game briefly, but Seth Jarvis scores the empty netter, and it's a 4-2 final. Spencer Martin, 20 of 22, a .909 save percentage. You know your team's not doing too hot if the Hurricanes are willing to throw Spencer Martin at them. For Daniil Tarasov, it's actually not a terrible game from him. He goes 28 for 31, a .903 save percentage, but only 2 goals is not going to be enough to get him a win against a quality team like the Hurricanes, and that is exactly the case tonight. 4-2 is the final. The Islanders taking on the Red Wings, and despite how hot the Red Wings have been as of late and how cold the Islanders have been, the script flips in this one, and the Islanders get it done. It's a 5-3 final. Nelson and Cizikas scoring in the first. Ole Mata, the only goal in the second, and then Kane, Nelson, Mata again. I guess Nelson again too, Barzal, and then Pierre Engvall on the empty net, and it's a 5-3 final once again. Ilya Sorokin, not a great night from him, but enough to get the job done. 22 of 25 and 880 save percentage. Alex Lyon was worse, 22 of 26 and 846 save percentage in the losing effort. Just going to make this video even longer and go through the standings a bit, because why not? The Red Wings still hold the first wildcard spot, 72 points, 60 games played. Tampa, of course, after the loss tonight, 62 games played, 70 points. Both New Jersey and the Islanders after tonight's games, 59 games played, 64 points each. Washington just a point behind them, both with a game in hand. And then Pittsburgh, who's playing Seattle right now, will be their 57th game of the year. If they lose that, they're sitting at 62 points, trailing Washington. If they win that, they are tied with both New Jersey and the Islanders with 64 points with 2 games in hand on those teams. So we'll see what happens in the Penguins game, which I will talk about in a couple seconds here. But for now, the Islanders with a really big win, much needed against another team fighting for a playoff spot. 5-3 is the final over the Red Wings. The Predators hosting the Minnesota Wild, and this one, like the games previously for Arizona, feels kind of like it could be a dagger for the Wild. They're definitely not as out as, obviously, the Coyotes are at this point, but this game is a tough one, a big loss to a team that they're trying to make up some ground on. In the first, Connor Dewar gets the opening goal, but from there, literally the rest of the game is all Predators. Trennan and Smith scoring to make it 2-1 after one. Philip Forsberg, his 29th of the year in the second, and then Yossi, O'Reilly, and McDonough in the third. Again, 6-1 final. UC Saros 33 of 34, while Philip Gustafsson goes just 25 for 31. Not a great night for them, a great night for the Preds. 6-1's the final. The Avalanche taking on the Chicago Blackhawks, and are we really surprised that this one wasn't all that close? Peter Mrazek faces a grand total of 34 shots, while Justus Sandin faces only 24. He gets a shutout in this one, 24 of 24, and while Mrazek goes 29 of 34. First period, Zach Parise, second of the year. Second period, Colton Parise and Taves, 13th, 3rd, and 11th of the year, respectively. And then in the third, Nate McKinnon with his 36th of the year rounds out the 5-0 final. Again, not really much for Chicago to do in this game. They're completely outclassed by the Avs, and the Avs showed why they're one of the better teams in the league by completely dominating one of, if not the worst teams in the league. 5-0 is the final. Sorry, Blackhawks fans. Go Avs, I guess. I don't know. 5-0. The Penguins taking on the Seattle Kraken, and talk about tough losses. This is definitely one of them. The Penguins fighting for their lives for a playoff spot. The Kraken in the same boat, fighting for their lives out west for a playoff spot. And what happens? Seattle and Pittsburgh almost blow for blow on shots, right? The totals are 28 for the Kraken, 33 for the Penguins. 2-0 final for Seattle. The only 2 goals coming from Oliver Bjorkstrand in the first, and then Alex Wenberg in the third. Will Borgen, Alex Wenberg with a goal and an assist. Yamamoto and Tolvanen, the other 2 assists. Grubauer goes 33 for 33. If you're the Penguins, you cannot go through this game without scoring a goal. This is one of the most disappointing efforts for Penguins fans, and I'm laughing internally at this, but I can feel you guys' frustration from across Pennsylvania. This is a brutal loss, a big one for the Kraken, but 2-0 Kraken here over the Penguins is rough. The Kings visiting the Vancouver Canucks, and a bit of a surprise ass-whooping from LA in this one. Vancouver typically pretty good against teams below them, at least by a good bit in the standings, but tonight LA definitely gets the better of them. Drew Doughty in the first, Anze Kopitar in the second, and then things kind of open up in the third. Brock Besser gets his 35th on the power play. That makes it a 1-goal game about 3 minutes in, but then Fiala scores his 18th, also on the power play, about a minute and a half later to make it 3-1. Brant Clark gets his second of the year to make it 4-1, and then Trevor Moore with just under 5 to go makes it 5-1. Not a great game from Thatcher Demko. He only faces 20 shots, but gives up 5. That's a 750 save percentage. Easy math there. Cam Talbot gives up just the 1 goal on 23 shots. That's a 957 save percentage. And no, that's not easy math. Yeah, big game from the Kings. They're staying alive in the playoff spot for the time being. Nashville definitely trying to make up some ground on them. They're also in a wild card spot. So we'll see what happens here. LA doing a good job staying alive despite their last couple losses for Vancouver. Not a great loss, but they have some wiggle room to work with. So it's all good. 5-1 LA. In the last game of the night, another basement barn burner between the Ducks and Sharks, battling it out for Macklin, Celebrini, Duclair, Carlson, and Leeson scoring in the first. A busy second, Killorn, Hoffman, Eklund, Vitrano, and Henrique all scoring. And then in the third, just Duclair and Lundestrom on the empty net. It ends up being a 6-4 final for Anaheim. Adam Henrique, a goal and 2 assists. The Duke with 2 goals and an assist. Mikael Granlund with 3 assists. A big point night for a few players here. Obviously, neither goalie very good in this one. Kakkonen faces 29 shots, gives up 5, 24 saves. John Gibson faces 28 shots, gives up 4. 857 for Gibby, 828 for Kakkonen. Anaheim gets the win in this one. They might have preferred the loss. Both of these teams kind of suck. Yeah, not really too much to talk about in this one. Unfortunately, we end it with not so exciting of a game, but that is it for NHL regular season recap night 134. Just 3 games tomorrow night because, again, schedule makers are awesome, so we'll talk to you guys tomorrow night for 3 games, hopefully like NBA, basketball, or something because you don't got much other options.